October 14th, 1934. 11:22 p.m. Outside the Velvet Rail, Chicago. The sound begins with a metallic tink, a small brass casing hitting the wet pavement. Then, the rhythmic thump-thump of a heavy heart against a ribcage. Inside the stolen Ford V8, the air is thick with the smell of stale tobacco and burnt gunpowder. Bonnie Parker wipes the condensation from the window with a gloved hand. Outside, the neon sign of the Velvet Rail flickers, casting a sickly green glow over the black sedan parked across the street. "He's late, Clyde," Bonnie whispers. Her voice is a jagged edge. Clyde Barrow doesn't look at her. His hands are locked on the steering wheel, knuckles white. He's staring at the entrance of the club, the unofficial headquarters of the Jenner crime family. They aren't supposed to be here. This isn't the dusty back roads of Texas or the lonely banks of the Mississippi. This is Chicago. This is the big league, a concrete labyrinth owned by men who don't use shotguns. They use armies. For months, the duo has been dodging the FBI and the Texas Rangers, but tonight, they are hunting a different kind of predator. They are here to intercept a courier carrying $40,000 in untraceable bills, money meant to grease the palms of the city's high-ranking judges. To understand how the two most wanted outlaws in America ended up in the crosshairs of the outfit, we have to look back 3 days. It started with a tip from a dying cellmate in Huntsville, a secret route, a specific car, and a promise of enough cash to disappear to Mexico forever. But in the underworld, a promise is just a lie that hasn't been caught yet. Suddenly, a shadow detaches itself from the alleyway. A man in a long trench coat approaches their car. He doesn't pull a gun. Instead, he slips a folded piece of paper through the slightly cracked passenger window and vanishes into the fog. Clyde reaches for his Browning automatic rifle, but the stranger is gone. Bonnie picks up the note. Her eyes widen as she reads the 5 words written in hurried, shaky ink. The game didn't just change. The game ended before they even played their first card. Bonnie looks at Clyde, her face pale in the dashboard light. "Clyde," she breaths, "it's not a courier, it's a funeral, and we're the guests of honor." 3 days earlier, a roadside motel near Joliet. The smell of cheap lye soap and rotting wood filled the room. Clyde was cleaning his 1911 Colt, the rhythmic click-slide the only music in the cramped space. He remembered the man who gave him the tip, Old Man Miller, a bank robber whose lungs were more coal dust than flesh. Miller had whispered about the Jenner family's judge's purse, a monthly delivery that bypassed the usual syndicates. "It's a ghost run, Clyde," Miller had wheezed. "No guards. Just one man in a nondescript Buick. He parks outside the Velvet Rail at midnight on the 14th. Take him, and your ghosts too." Back in the present, Bonnie is staring at the note they just received in the rain. It reads, "They know you are here." The weight of the situation settles like lead in Clyde's stomach. In the rural South, they were folk heroes to some, devils to others. But here in the shadow of the Chicago skyscrapers, they are just amateurs trespassing on sacred ground. The local Mafia, the outfit, doesn't appreciate competition. To them, Bonnie and Clyde are a loud, messy distraction that brings too much heat from the feds. "We need to move now," Clyde says, shifting the Ford into gear. The engine growls, a low, predatory sound that feels too loud for the silent street. But as he pulls away from the curb, a pair of headlights flares to life in his rearview mirror. Then another, and another. The hunters are being hunted. They had planned for a heist. They found themselves in an ambush. The effeto lenda, legend effect, usually worked in their favor. Their reputation preceded them. But here, that reputation was a bullseye. Clyde's mind is racing. If the outfit knows they are here, it means Miller sold them out before he died, or someone in their inner circle has a leak. In the criminal world, loyalty is a luxury, and right now, the Barrow gang is bankrupt. As Clyde floors the accelerator, a black Cadillac swerves to block the exit of the street, and a man steps out onto the pavement, leveling a Thompson submachine gun directly at their windshield. October 14th, 11:28 p.m., North Side, Chicago. The first burst of gunfire is a staccato rip that tears through the quiet night. Bullets shatter the Ford's passenger side mirror and spark off the chrome bumper. Bonnie ducks, her hands over her head, feeling the vibration of the lead slamming into the reinforced steel plates Clyde had installed in the doors. "Get down," Clyde screams, steering with one hand while reaching for his sawed-off shotgun with the other. He doesn't drive away. Instead, he drives at them. It's the Barrow specialty, pure unadulterated aggression. The man with the Tommy gun hesitates. He expected them to turn, to flee. He didn't expect a 2-ton hunk of Detroit steel to come screaming toward him at 60 miles per hour. At the last second, Clyde swerves, the tires screaming on the wet cobblestones. He clips the Cadillac, a jarring metal-on-metal screech that sends a shower of sparks into the air. They break through the blockade, but the city is a grid, and the outfit owns every inch of it. "Why didn't they just kill us at the motel?" Bonnie asks, her voice trembling as she reloads her revolver. "Because they don't just want us dead," Clyde grunts, his eyes darting to the side streets. "They want to make an example. 2 kids from Texas making noise in Al Capone's backyard? That's a bad look for business." The tension in the car is suffocating. This is the theme of the night. Reputation. In the South, their name meant freedom. Here it's a death sentence. Every corner they turn reveals a new set of headlights. They are being funneled. The Mafia isn't chasing them. They are herding them toward a specific location. Clyde notices the pattern. Every open street leads toward the shipping docks, a dead end with no cover and nowhere to run. Just as they approach the bridge leading to the docks, Clyde sees a second note taped to a lamppost, fluttering in the wind. It's a red ribbon, the same signal Miller said would mark the safe house. But the safe house is in the opposite direction of the docks. 2 weeks earlier, a hidden camp in the Ozarks. The fire was dying down to embers. Henry Methvin, the newest member of the gang, was sharpening a knife. Clyde watched him from the shadows. There was a coldness in Henry that Clyde didn't trust, but they needed the extra hands. "You ever think about what happens after?" Henry asked, not looking up. "When the gas runs out and the roads are all blocked?" Clyde spat into the dirt. "We keep driving, Henry, that's the deal." But the deal was shifting. Rumors were reaching them that the law was squeezing the families of the gang members. The pressure was mounting. In the chess game of survival, a man's family is his weakest pawn. Back in Chicago, inside the car, the realization hits Clyde. The note they received at the club, "They know you are here," wasn't a threat. It was a warning from someone on the inside. But who? Clyde makes a split-second decision. He ignores the red ribbon on the lamppost. "That ribbon is a lie," he says, his voice cold. "If we go to that safe house, we're walking into a cage." "But Miller said," Bonnie starts. "Miller is dead, Bonnie, and whoever put that ribbon there wants us to think he's still helping us." Clyde yanks the wheel, pulling a U-turn that sends the Ford sliding sideways. He drives over the sidewalk, narrowly missing a fire hydrant, and heads straight for the heart of the Italian district, Little Sicily. It's the last place the Mafia would expect them to hide, right under their noses. As they roar into the narrow, laundry-draped alleys, Bonnie looks back. The black Cadillacs have stopped at the entrance of the district. They aren't following. "Why did they stop?" Bonnie asks. Clyde looks at the dark, silent windows of the tenements surrounding them. "Because," he whispers, "we just walked into a neighborhood where the police don't go and the Mafia doesn't need cars to kill you." October 15th, 12:05 a.m., Little Sicily, Chicago. The atmosphere changes instantly. The roar of the city fades into an oppressive silence. The smell of rain is replaced by the scent of heavy cooking oils, coal smoke, and something sharper, fear. This is a closed ecosystem. In these streets, a stranger is spotted before he even turns the corner. Clyde kills the lights on the Ford. They creep forward in the darkness, the engine idling like a low growl. "We need a place to tuck this car," Clyde says. A shiny Ford V8 sticks out like a gold tooth in a hobo's mouth. They find a dilapidated livery stable, long abandoned. Clyde noses the car inside, the wooden floorboards groaning under the weight. They sit in the dark for a moment, listening. The rain drums on the tin roof, a rhythmic, hypnotic sound. Drip, drip, drip. Clyde checks his watch. The judge's purse delivery was supposed to happen 10 minutes ago. If the note was right and they were expected, then the money was never there. It was all a lure. "Think about it, Clyde," Bonnie whispers, leaning against the seat. The tip, the timing, the location, it was too perfect. They wanted us in Chicago because in Texas the law is the problem. In Chicago, the law is on their payroll. If we die here, there's no trial. No headlines about the Robin Hood of the South, we just disappear. This is the cost of power. The Mafia isn't just a gang, it's an institution. They don't want the spectacle Bonnie and Clyde provide. They want silence. Suddenly the heavy wooden door of the stable creaks open. A sliver of moonlight cuts through the dark. A small figure slips inside. It's a boy, no older than 12, wearing a flat cap and an oversized coat. He's holding a lantern, but it's extinguished. "Mister," the boy whispers into the darkness. "The men in the black suits, and they're going house to house. They're looking for the car with the Texas plates." The boy points to the back of the stable. "There's a tunnel to the cellar of the bakery next door, but you got to leave the car. If you stay with the car, you die with the car." October 15th, 12:45 a.m. Basement of Moretti's bakery. The air is thick with the smell of fermenting yeast and old flour. Bonnie and Clyde crouch behind stacks of heavy wooden crates. Above them they can hear the muffled sounds of boots on the floorboards and the sharp, rhythmic shouting of men in Italian. The boy, whose name is Rico, sits across from them, his eyes wide. He knows who they are. Everyone knows. The legend effect has reached even the gutters of Chicago. To him, they aren't killers. They are the people from the newspapers who beat the system. "Why are you helping us, kid?" Clyde asks, holding his 1911 steady. "My father and he refused to pay the protection money," Rico says, his voice flat. "The Jenners took his hands. Now he can't bake. Now we starve. If you're here to hurt them, I'll show you the way." This is the chess move. Clyde realizes they can't outrun the Mafia and they can't outgun them, but they can strike where it hurts, the wallet. The judge's purse wasn't at the club. It's moved every night, and Rico knows where. "The money isn't at the Velvet Rail," Rico explains. "That's where the bosses sit. The money is kept in the counting house behind the meatpacking plant. It moves at 2 a.m. Clyde looks at Bonnie. They are tired, hungry, and surrounded. The smart move would be to find a way out of the city and head back to the hills. But Clyde Barrow wasn't built for smart. He was built for loud. "If we take that purse," Clyde says, a dark grin spreading across his face, "we don't just get the money. We humiliate them. We show the whole world that the Chicago outfit can't even protect their own backyard from a couple of Texans." But the decision comes with a price. To get to the meatpacking plant, they have to cross no man's land, a 3-block stretch of industrial wasteland heavily patrolled by the Jenners' enforcers. As they prepare to leave, a heavy thud echoes from the cellar door above. A voice calls out in English, with a thick, gravelly Chicago accent. "I know you're down there, Texas. I can smell the gunpowder on you." October 15th, 1:15 a.m., Moretti's bakery cellar. The man standing at the top of the stairs is huge, his silhouette blocking the light from the shop above. This is Frank the Butcher Scalise, the man the Jenners send when they want a message written in blood. He carries a short-barreled shotgun, held loosely in one hand. "Come on out," Frank says, his tone almost bored. "Make it easy. You give us back the car, you give us the guns, maybe we let the girl go to a convent. The boy?" Well, the boy shouldn't have opened the door. Clyde feels a surge of cold fury. The theme of loyalty is tested here. He could try to negotiate, but he knows men like Frank. Frank is a tool, and tools don't negotiate. They function. "Bonnie, when I move, you go low," Clyde whispers. He doesn't wait for a response. Clyde kicks over a heavy table, the crash echoing like a cannon shot. Frank fires, a thunderous blast that sends splinters flying, but Clyde is already rolling. He fires 3 shots from his Colt. 2 hit the doorframe, but the third catches Frank in the shoulder. The big man grunts and tumbles down the stairs. Before he can recover, Bonnie is on him, the butt of her revolver slamming into his temple. He goes limp. "We have to go," Bonnie says, breathing hard. The whole block heard that. They scramble out through the back delivery chute, Rico leading the way into the freezing night air. The rain has turned to sleet, stinging their skin. They move through the shadows of the alleyways, invisible ghosts in a city that wants them dead. But the effeto lenda is a double-edged sword. The gunshot has alerted every soldier in the district. The silence of Little Sicily is broken by the sound of whistles and the cranking of engines. As they reach the edge of the industrial district, Rico stops. He points to a massive, dark building billowing steam. That's it. But look. Around the building, at least a dozen men are stationed, all of them armed, all of them waiting. October 15th, 1:50 a.m., the Chicago Meatpacking District. The air here is foul, the metallic tang of blood mixed with industrial grease. Huge carcasses of beef hang from hooks, sliding along overhead rails with a rhythmic clink, clink, clink. Clyde, Bonnie, and Rico are perched on a catwalk overlooking the main floor. Below, 4 men are sitting around a table, a heavy iron lockbox sitting between them. They are laughing, drinking coffee, completely unaware that the most hunted couple in the country is 10 feet above their heads. "This is it," Clyde whispers, the judge's purse. The logistics of the strike have to be perfect. If they miss one man, the alarm goes off and they'll be trapped in a freezer. Clyde hands Bonnie a smoke grenade, a homemade concoction of sulfur and potassium he'd put together for bank jobs. "On 3, he says. 1, 2, 3. The grenade hits the floor, erupting in a thick, choking cloud of white smoke. The men below scramble, coughing, reaching for their holsters. Clyde drops from the catwalk like a bird of prey, his bar barking as he fires into the ceiling to suppress them. "Nobody moves. Hands up or you're part of the ground beef," Bonnie screams, sliding down the ladder with her Winchesters leveled. The intimidation works. These are city thugs. They are used to intimidation and backroom deals, not the raw, suicidal chaos of the Barrow gang. They freeze. Clyde grabs the lockbox. It's heavier than he expected. He doesn't even look inside. He knows what's there. But as they turn to leave, the heavy steel doors of the warehouse begin to slide shut. Someone was watching the watchers. A voice booms over the warehouse intercom, echoing off the cold stone walls. "You really thought it would be that easy? You're in the slaughterhouse now, little lambs, and the hooks are empty." October 15th, 2:10 a.m. Inside the slaughterhouse. The doors are locked. The smoke is clearing. From behind the hanging carcasses, men begin to emerge. This wasn't a heist. It was a cage. The Jenner family didn't care about the money. They used it as bait to trap the legends once and for all. "Rico, get behind the crates," Bonnie yells, pulling the boy into cover just as a hail of bullets shreds the beef carcasses around them. Meat and blood spray the air. The sound is deafening, a chaotic symphony of high-caliber fire. Clyde is pinned down, his bar running hot. He's laughing, but it's a desperate, hollow sound. This is the reality of the outlaw life. There is no glory here, only the smell of grease and the sound of lead hitting bone. "Clyde, we're running out of ammo," Bonnie screams over the noise. Clyde looks around. He sees a forklift positioned near a secondary loading bay, a door that leads out to the canal. It's a slim chance, a suicidal dash across 50 feet of open floor. "Bonnie, the forklift, cover me." He doesn't wait for an answer. Clyde bolts. Bullets trail his heels, kicking up sparks from the concrete. He jumps onto the machine, fumbling with the ignition. It roars to life. He floors it, the forks lowered like a knight's lance. He rams the secondary door. The wood splinters, the steel hinges groan, but it holds. He backs up and hits it again. And again. On the third hit, the door bursts outward, revealing the dark, churning waters of the Chicago River. "Get in! Rico, Bonnie, move!" They scramble onto the forklift just as the mobsters close in. Clyde drives the machine off the loading dock, plunging into the freezing water. The water is ice cold, shocking the air from their lungs. As they struggle to the surface, they see the silhouettes of the gunmen on the dock aiming down at them. But then, a massive explosion rocks the warehouse, throwing the gunmen off their feet. October 15th, 4 a.m., the outskirts of Chicago. The explosion was Rico's doing. He had found the gas lines in the basement while they were fighting. He didn't tell them, he just did it. The Judas kiss had been returned with interest. Bonnie, Clyde, and Rico are shivering in the back of a stolen laundry truck they found 3 blocks away. The lockbox is at their feet, forced open. Inside is $42,000, more money than the Barrow gang has ever seen at once. "We did it," Bonnie says, her teeth chattering. She looks at her hands. They are stained with grease, blood, and the soot of the city. But Clyde isn't celebrating. He's looking at Rico. The boy is staring out the back of the truck, watching the glow of the fire on the horizon. He's lost his home, his neighborhood, and his safety. This is the final theme, consequences. Every win for the outlaw is a loss for someone else. Clyde reaches into the box, pulls out 2 thick stacks of bills, $10,000, and stuffs them into Rico's oversized pockets. "Take this," Clyde says, his voice unusually soft. "Get your father out of the city. Go to California. Don't ever look back, and don't ever tell anyone you met us." They drop the boy off near a train station. As the truck pulls away, Bonnie looks at Clyde. "Where to now?" she asks. Clyde looks at the road ahead. The sun is beginning to peek over the horizon, a pale, cold gray. "South, Bonnie, back to the dirt. The city is too loud for me." They didn't conquer Chicago. They survived it. And as they drove away, the newspapers were already printing the story. Not of a robbery, but of a war. A war between the old ghosts of the South and the new monsters of the North. The Efito lender grew that day, but so did the price on their heads. The Mafia doesn't forget, and the law never stops. This was the night Bonnie and Clyde almost disappeared into the belly of the Chicago beast. A story of a note, a boy, and a choice that cost them everything but their lives. What would you have done? Would you have taken the money and run, or risked it all to help the boy who saved you? Drop a comment below with your choice. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the shadows of criminal history.